to the trees, bringing the last remnants of warmth from a faded summer. Fall was officially here. I could feel it in the slight chill of the breeze that flirted with the sunshine, in the mournful call of geese overhead, in the needles that dropped from the pine, scattering the ground like discarded memories. Standing with Lilica in the coop, I sprinkled feed to the chickens while she gathered their eggs. In the distance, the rhythmic sound of chopping wood pierced through the air as Domine worked in the small clearing by the tree line, shadows dancing across his skin as he assembled logs for the new cabin. "Are those going to be for our house, Mummy?" Lilica asked as we made our way back toward the cabin, clutching the basket of eggs in one hand while she pointed to Domine. "Yes, they will be, sweetie." The crunch of footsteps startled me, and I turned around to see a woman walking toward us with a basket nestled in the crook of her arm, and a little boy trailing behind. She smiled when she drew near, the scent of cedar and rose enveloping the air around me as she set down her basket and took my hands in hers, squeezing tightly. "You must be Seren. Domine has told me so much about you." I nodded, taking in her flowing waist-length blonde hair and deep blue eyes. She had the kind of beauty that demanded attention, and I suddenly felt self-conscious in my stained blue jeans and t-shirt, unwashed hair tied up in a messy bun. "My name's River, and this little guy over here," a bushy head of golden curly hair peeked out from behind her legs, "is Echo." River held her hand over her chest, her voice soft and melodic. "We released our old names when we left the grid last year. These are our chosen names now, ones that are more in alignment with our life path." "Well, they're very beautiful." With a smile, I motioned to Lilica, who stood a few feet away, watching them with curious eyes, before she came over and leaned against me. "And this is my daughter, Lilica." "It's so wonderful to meet you." River's eyes sparkled with warmth as she bent down and extended her hand, clasping it around Lilica's. "Echo would love to play with you today. Do you feel like playing?" Nodding slowly, Lilica looked up at me with uncertainty. She had never been allowed to play with the other children at learning group. The educational system discouraged any form of unsupervised play, believing it bred dissension and took away from the teaching of valuable knowledge. "It's okay, love. You can go play." I ran my hands through her hair, watching as she broke out into a wide grin and stepped closer to Echo. "Do you want to see the chickens?" Her question elicited an enthusiastic nod from him, and just like that, some unspoken agreement was made, and they ran off together, their voices merging effortlessly under a canopy of trees and indigo sky. And there is nothing more sacred than the pure energy between children. Wouldn't you agree? Rivers smiled as she picked up her basket and handed it to me. "This is for you. I brought you some more vegetables from our garden." "Thank you so much." With a nod, I took the basket from her as Domain appeared, approaching us from the clearing. "Hey, River, thanks for stopping by." A tentative smile spread across his face as he brushed wood chips off his shirt, sunlight glinting through the dark strands of his tousled hair. "Any time." She beamed up at him, her hand falling to his arm and gently sweeping downward, the look in her eyes unmistakable. There was an intimacy between them. I could see it, and everything within me deflated as the sharp and unexpected pang of jealousy rose and curled around me. "Mommy, we're going to look for treasures in the forest!" Lilica's voice cut through the air, and I turned to her and to see her and Echo disappearing into the woods. "Don't go too far," I called after her, my words catching in my throat. "Oh, don't worry, they'll be fine. I'll keep an eye on them for you." River flashed me a warm smile and then leaned closer to Domine, her blonde hair falling against her cheek, as she said something to him that I could not hear. "Thanks." Grasping the handle of the basket, I took the eggs Lilica had left on the ground and brushed past Domine. "I'll just take these into the cabin." My face burned as I closed the door behind me. "You fool." The voice hissed inside as I placed the baskets on the counter and turned on the tap to the makeshift faucet, the pipes groaning and sputtering in protest as I filled a small bowl and rinsed off the tomatoes and lettuce in the cold water. All the fear and hesitancy that had been holding me back from diving into my feelings with Domine was now replaced with the crushing weight of disappointment. Here I was, thinking we were making slow steps towards something new together, when apparently there had been someone else this whole time. Why had he not mentioned her before? All those moments with him beside the fire, the touch of his hand on mine, the way he looked at me, the tenderness in which he took me in his arms on the grass the other day and told me about his dreams. Had I only been grasping at something that was no longer there? I closed my eyes and took a deep breath, trying to steady myself as memories of that last night together flooded me. The tears and elevated words, the goodbye we both knew we had to make as we grappled on the floor of the cabin, tearing at our clothes, falling into the sorrow and the hunger. We had tried so hard to make it work after he left the grid. All the weekends I would come to him full of longing, only to leave with a desolate ache in my chest. In the end, the separation of our lives had fractured us. I took a sharp breath, realizing with sudden clarity why I had chosen Trendon that blustery spring day when he approached me outside a department store with his wide smile and confident swagger. I chose him because I needed a buffer, a way to silence the scream of a life no longer with Domine. I knew I had to be empty inside, so that when I came to see him again and stood beside the new boundaries we had erected, it wouldn't tear me apart. But he always tore me apart. The door opened, jolting me from the tangle of my thoughts, and I turned to see Domine stroll in and grab the pitcher of water from the counter.
River's taking Lilica and Echo for a little walk in the woods right now.
Oh, that sounds like fun. I forced out a smile and as I placed the washed vegetables on a towel to dry. She seems really nice. He nodded as he poured water into her glass, his face impassive. Are you guys? I trailed off and made a circular motion with my hand, letting the question die in the air. Tommy leaned against the counter and regarded me with a look that was open and candid.
You want to know if we're sleeping together?
With a sigh, he set the glass down and folded his arms against his chest.
We have been intimate a few times.
My stomach turned sour, the bitter sting of his admission slamming into me. So is that what you were doing when you went to get vegetables the other day? As soon as the flippant words left my mouth, I flinched. I'm sorry, never mind. It's absolutely none of my business. I moved past him and into the living room, gathering up Lilica's toys and placing them beside the bed, hoping movement would still the torrent in my mind.
Jesus, no.
Domine raked his hand through his hair.
I haven't been with her since you got here.
Well, you don't have to stop because of me. My harsh tone prickled the air, the strands of my composure fracturing. This is what he did to me, what he always did, yanked out the marrow of my emotions, leaving me flailing and exposed. Scrambling for my bearings, I took a deep breath and tried to still the pounding of my heart. Of course he had found someone. 10 years stretched between us, and I had no claim on him. If there was something between him and River, I had no right to get in the way of that. I took a shaky breath and turned to him. I don't want you to feel like you have to sneak around with her. I want you to be happy.
Happy?
His eyes flashed as he stepped closer to me.
You want me to be happy? Damn it, Seren, don't you get it?
I threw my hands in the air as if the motion could create something solid, something I could grasp onto. Get what? What am I supposed to get? He grabbed me by my shoulders, his voice coming out in a tangled whisper.
That I have never been able to let you go. That you have always been the only thing in my life that has ever made me happy.
The fire in his words hit me, and heat coursed through my limbs. It bloomed and crept upward until it spread across my skin, stealing my breath. I closed my eyes, trying to shield myself from the intensity of his gaze, from the overwhelming current of his confession, and the visceral ache he stirred within me. It had been so long since I had stared into the depths of my longing for him, and it felt too vast and encompassing for me to hold.
Seren, look at me.
He swept his hand up my arm and cupped my face, his thumb gently caressing my cheek as my eyes fluttered open and met his.
I was young and reckless all those years ago, so angry at the world, And I had no idea at the time that leaving you would be a sacrifice I would regret every single day.
Tears pricked at my eyes. We had never spoken of these things before, always tiptoeing around our past like it was an unpredictable animal that could tear away at the ground we had so carefully built back up. And now here it was, standing naked in front of us, demanding our attention. And I couldn't run from it anymore. I didn't want to. Tom. The name spilled from me like a sigh, the name I used to murmur to him in the darkness as his fingers traced across my skin, the soft language of an intimacy I had not spoken in so long. I placed my hands on his chest, the fabric of his shirt tangling in my fists as I pulled him closer. I couldn't think. I didn't want to. All I wanted was to feel the fierce rush of his lips against mine, that flame that used to dance so brightly between us. He hesitated for a moment, his eyes heavy. Then his breath swept across my neck, teasing the delicate lobe of my ear as he drew me against his chest and spoke in a broken whisper that made my core tighten and my limbs grow weak.
If I kiss you right now, I don't think I'm going to be able to stop.
Then don't stop, I gasped, my words tumbling out unrestrained as I wove my fingers into his hair and met the burn of his eyes. Seren. He spoke my name like a plea, a desperate sigh that hovered against my skin. And then his mouth found mine. A surge of pleasure cascaded through me as our lips and tongues collided, feverish and engulfing, sending everything spinning around me. With a groan, he seized me by the hips, walked me backward, and pressed me firmly against the wall, pinning me to him. Ache and fire tore into me, and I clutched at his back, wrapping my legs around his waist as our kiss grew deeper and devouring. His hands slipped under my shirt, and I sucked in a breath as the familiar warmth of his touch sent desire tearing across my skin. A sound from outside tumbled through my delirium, and Domine stiffened and abruptly jerked back, his head swiveling toward the window, as the distant clang of a bell echoed through the air once more. "What is that?" I asked, breathless, my head swimming as he lowered my legs to the floor and released me.
It's the warning bell.
His voice grew low and timorous, his eyes wide and boring into me as he clasped my wrists.
It means the feds are here.